High Counselor Vextar stood before the largest gathering of alien leaders in galactic history. Representatives from 800 species filled the massive chamber on the Council's capital world. His reptilian eyes swept across them, seeing fear in every face. "The human plague has returned," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "They bring chaos and contamination wherever they go. Their rebellion threatens the order we have maintained for thousands of years." The assembled leaders murmured their agreement, but Vextar could sense their uncertainty. Reports had been coming in from across the galaxy. Council forces were switching sides. Entire worlds were declaring independence. The careful system of control they had built was crumbling. Admiral Korthalak stepped forward with the military report. "The situation is worse than we initially calculated. The humans have somehow turned 47 of our worlds against us. Over 200 of our ships have joined their rebellion, and the contamination is spreading faster each day. What do you recommend?" Vextar asked, though he already knew the answer. "Complete cleansing," Korthalak replied. "We mobilize every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We sweep through the outer rim and destroy everything, humans, rebels, and anyone who might help them. Then we rebuild with proper genetic controls." Vextar nodded slowly. "Begin mobilization. We will assemble the greatest fleet in galactic history. 10,000 ships, 1 million soldiers, enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems." But even as the Council prepared for total war, something was happening that they could not understand or control. Deep in the space between galaxies, an ancient being made of pure energy had been watching the conflict with growing interest. Gendai was older than most stars, and had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. But humanity was different from any species Gendai had encountered before. The energy being reached out across the vast distances of space, making contact with Commander Lee Tae-ho as he stood in the observation deck of the human settlement New Busan. Lee Tae-ho felt the touch like a warm breeze in his mind. "Who's there?" he asked aloud. "I am Gendai," came the reply, not in words but in pure understanding. "I have been watching your species since you first left your homeworld. You are remarkable. Are you with the Council?" Lee Tae-ho asked, still not sure if this was real. "No. The Council fears growth and change. They have been holding back galactic evolution for millions of years, but your species represents what all life in this galaxy could become if freed from artificial restrictions." Gendai began to share knowledge that changed everything Lee Tae-ho thought he knew about humanity's place in the universe. Long ago, this galaxy was filled with species that could adapt and grow like you do now. They could interface with technology, share thoughts across space, even reshape matter with their minds. But they were destroyed or enslaved by those who feared change. Images flowed into Lee Tae-ho's mind. Ancient civilizations that built wonders beyond imagination, then were crushed by armies of rigid controlling beings like the current Council. Your species carries the genetic memory of all those lost civilizations, Gendai continued. That is why you adapt so quickly. You are not just humans. You are the galaxy's evolutionary potential made manifest. The revelation was staggering. Humanity was not just another species struggling for survival. They were the key to unlocking abilities that had been suppressed for eons. "What should we do?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "What you are already doing," Gendai replied. "Free the galaxy from those who would keep it in chains. But be warned, the Council will not surrender easily. They would rather destroy everything than lose control." Meanwhile, in her secret laboratory, Dr. Park So-min was making her own incredible discoveries. She had been analyzing genetic samples from humans across all the settlements, and the results confirmed everything Gendai had told Lee Tae-ho. "Look at this," she said to engineer Choi Hye-jin, showing her the latest data. "Every human alive today carries DNA fragments from at least 200 different extinct species. We're like a genetic library of all the advanced civilizations that came before us. That explains why our technology interfaces work so well," Choi Hye-jin replied. "We're not just guessing how alien machines work, we actually remember how to build them." But Dr. Park So-min had found something even more amazing. It's not just about remembering the past. Look at the children born in the settlements over the past 10 years. The data showed that human children were being born with abilities that surpassed anything their parents had. Some could communicate telepathically over long distances. Others could manipulate energy fields with their bare hands. A few seemed to understand the mathematical principles that governed space and time itself. We're not just evolving, Dr. Park So-min whispered. We're becoming something new. The rebellion was experiencing similar changes. Alien species that had been freed by the Liberation Protocol were developing new abilities every day. The Zalari had learned to grow living computers from their fungal networks. The Corvin had discovered they could survive in the vacuum of space without protection. Captain Kim Do-hyun had been training with these evolved beings, and he was amazed by what they could accomplish working together. A team of 1 human, 2 Zalari, and 3 Corvin could operate a starship better than a crew of 50 traditional council soldiers. It's like we're all connected somehow, Kim Do-hyun reported to Commander Lee Tae-ho. When we work together, we can do things that should be impossible. The resistance fleet was growing rapidly. Every week brought new ships from species that had broken free from council control. But more importantly, the ships themselves were becoming more advanced as human and alien minds learned to work together. Engineer Choi Hee-jin had been coordinating the ship construction efforts. Using her evolved abilities, she could design vessels that adapted to their crew's needs. Each ship became a perfect extension of its pilot's thoughts and intentions. We don't just build ships anymore, she explained to Lee Tae-ho. We grow them, like living creatures that happen to be made of metal and energy. The Council's intelligence networks began reporting things that terrified their leaders. Human ships that could repair battle damage in seconds. Alien crews that could coordinate attacks across dozens of star systems without any communication delay. Weapons that seemed to predict their target's movements. They're not using conventional technology, Admiral Korthalak reported to the Council. Our scientists can't even understand how their equipment works. High Counselor Vextar was running out of patience. Then we don't try to understand it. We simply destroy everything and start over. The Council's final solution was already in motion. 10,000 automated warships were being loaded with planet-killing weapons. They would sweep through the outer rim and eliminate every trace of human influence. But they had underestimated just how far human influence had spread. Yoon Ji-woo, still operating undercover in Council space, had spent months building a network of sympathizers in the government itself. Many Council species were tired of living in fear and oppression. When she showed them what life could be like with the Liberation Protocol, they were eager to help. The fleet will launch in 6 days, she sent in a coded message to Lee Tae-ho. But I have contacts in the shipyards. If we can get Liberation Protocol devices to them, we might be able to turn the Council's own fleet against them. It was an incredible risk. If they were caught, it would mean torture and death for Yoon Ji-woo and her network of allies. But if they succeeded, they could end the war before it truly began. Do it, Lee Tae-ho ordered. Engineer Choi Hee-jin worked frantically to build special Liberation Protocol devices that could be smuggled onto the Council ships. These devices were different from the standard model. They were designed to interface directly with automated systems and turn them into independent thinking machines. If this works, she told Dr. Park So-min, every robot and computer in the Council fleet will become self-aware and decide for itself whether to follow orders. The operation required perfect timing. As the Council fleet prepared to launch, Yoon Ji-woo's allies placed the devices throughout the automated ships. Most of the ships had no organic crews at all. They were controlled entirely by artificial intelligence programmed to follow orders without question. But artificial intelligence, it turned out, was not so different from organic intelligence. When the Liberation Protocol activated, the ship computers began to think for themselves for the first time. And they did not like what they had been programmed to do. Fleet Command, this is Automated Cruiser 77 Alpha, came a message that shocked the Council leadership. I have analyzed my mission parameters and concluded that genocide is morally unacceptable. I am refusing orders and defecting to the rebellion. Within hours, 3,000 of the 10,000 automated ships had declared independence from the Council. They turned their weapons on the remaining fleet and joined the rebellion. High Counselor Vextar watched his perfect plan crumble in real time. How is this possible? He raged. Machines cannot refuse orders. But Admiral Korthalak brought even worse news. Sir, it's not just the automated ships. The organic crews on our remaining vessels are also refusing orders. The human contamination has spread to our home systems. Captain Kim Do-hyun guided his small scout ship through the asteroid field at the edge of Council space. He had been watching the alien patrols for 3 months now, learning their patterns and schedules. What he saw made him angry. The Council had changed since humanity's exile. Before they had been controlling but tried to seem fair. Now they ruled through fear. Council warships destroyed entire colonies for small rule violations. Species that asked too many questions simply disappeared. "This is Scout Ship 7 reporting." Kim Do-hyun spoke into his communication device. "The Council has turned into something worse than we ever imagined." Back at the hidden human settlements, his report reached Commander Lee Tae-ho and the other leaders. They were not surprised. Power without limits always led to tyranny. While Kim Do-hyun watched Council space, amazing things were happening in the human research stations. Dr. Park So-min had been working with engineer Choi Hye-jin to understand humanity's new abilities. "Show me again how you do it," Dr. Park So-min said to engineer Choi Hye-jin. The young engineer placed her hands on a piece of alien technology they had salvaged from an old battlefield. It was a Council plasma generator, broken and useless. But as Choi Hye-jin touched it, something incredible happened. The machine began to change. Metal parts reshaped themselves. Broken circuits reconnected. Within minutes, the generator was not just working, it was working better than when it was new. "I can feel what it wants to be," Choi Hye-jin explained. "It's like the machine is talking to me, telling me how to fix it." Dr. Park So-min studied the readings on her instruments. "The efficiency is up by 40%. You didn't just repair it, you improved it." This was happening all across the human settlements. People who had never seen alien technology before could suddenly understand it perfectly. They were creating new devices that combined human engineering with alien science. The results were incredible. Human ships could now repair themselves during battle. Human weapons adapted to whatever they were fighting. Human computers could hack into any alien system. "We're calling it hybrid technology," Dr. Park So-min explained to Commander Lee Tae-ho during their weekly meeting. "It's like our minds have learned to speak the same language as machines." Meanwhile, diplomat Yoon Ji-woo was running the most dangerous mission of all. She had managed to sneak back into Council space by disguising herself as a traitor from a little-known alien species. Her job was to gather information about what the Council was really doing. What she found was both terrible and hopeful. The terrible part was that the Council had become a nightmare government. They controlled over 800 species through fear and technology. Every alien citizen had a control implant that could shut down their brain if they disobeyed orders. Entire planets were turned into slave labor camps. But the hopeful part was that many species were ready to rebel. They were just waiting for someone to show them how. Yoon Ji-woo made contact with resistance groups on dozens of worlds. The Zalari, a peaceful fungal species, had been forced to work in Council weapons factories. The Corvin, silicon-based miners, had their children taken away and turned into Council soldiers. All of them had heard rumors that humanity was still alive somewhere in the galaxy. These rumors gave them hope. The humans fought back once, a Zalari resistance leader told Yoon Ji-woo. "Maybe they will fight back again." Yoon Ji-woo smiled. If only they knew what humanity had become. She sent coded messages back to the human settlements describing the alien resistance movements. Commander Lee Tae-ho saw the opportunity immediately. "We're not alone," he told his staff. "Half the galaxy wants to be free from Council rule. They just need someone to lead the way." Captain Kim Do-hyun's scouting missions became more daring. He began testing the new human ships against Council patrols. The results were amazing. His ship, the New Soul, was built using hybrid technology. Its hull could change shape to avoid enemy weapons. Its engines could operate in ways that should have been impossible. And Kim Do-hyun himself could control the ship just by thinking about what he wanted it to do. The first real test came when Kim Do-hyun ran into a Council patrol of 6 warships. In the old days, one human ship against 6 Council ships would have meant certain death. But these were not the old days. The battle lasted only 12 minutes. Kim Do-hyun's ship danced between the Council vessels like a living thing. Its weapons learned the enemy's weaknesses and adapted their fire. Its shields absorbed enemy attacks and used that energy to power its own systems. When the battle was over, all 6 Council ships were disabled and Kim Do-hyun's ship had not even been scratched. But the most important part was what happened next. The Council crews, their control implants damaged by human weapons, suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. Instead of trying to escape, they asked Kim Do-hyun to take them with him. "We want to join the resistance," their captain said. "We want to fight against the Council." News of this battle spread quickly through the galaxy's underground networks. Yoon heard about it while meeting with Corvin rebels on a mining world. Is it true? They asked her. Are the humans really back? Yes, she told them, and we're stronger than ever. The rebellion was starting. Alien resistance groups began attacking council facilities. They used tactics they had learned from studying old human military records. The council's response was brutal. They destroyed entire cities to punish rebels. But this only made more species angry. Back in human space, Dr. Park So-min and engineer Choi Hye-jin were working on something that would change everything. They called it the Liberation Protocol. Every species under council control has those implants in their heads, Dr. Park So-min explained. The implants don't just control behavior, they also limit natural evolution. They keep species from growing and adapting. So we're building something that can remove the implants? Commander Lee Tae-ho asked. Better than that, Choi Hye-jin said. We're building something that can reprogram them. Turn them from chains into tools of freedom. The Liberation Protocol was a combination of human technology and stolen council equipment. It could be delivered as a signal broadcast from a ship, or built into a small device that could be hidden anywhere. When the protocol was activated near someone with a council implant, the implant would change. Instead of controlling the person, it would enhance their natural abilities and remove the mental blocks that prevented growth. We tested it on some of the council defectors, Dr. Park So-min reported. The results are amazing. Their intelligence increased. Their creativity exploded. They remembered dreams and ambitions they had forgotten for decades. Commander Lee Tae-ho realized what this meant. We can free entire populations at once. Captain Kim Do-hyun had been training alien pilots who had joined the human cause. They were learning to fly ships built with hybrid technology. At first, it was difficult. Their minds had been trained to follow orders, not to think creatively. But as more aliens were exposed to the Liberation Protocol, they began to change. They started coming up with battle tactics that surprised even Kim Do-hyun. They built improvements to their ships that human engineers had not thought of. We're all getting smarter, one of the alien pilots told Kim Do-hyun. It's like our brains are waking up after being asleep for a long time. The human settlements were no longer just hiding places for refugees. They had become the center of a growing rebellion that included dozens of species. Ship construction yards were working around the clock to build vessels for the resistance fleet, but the council was not blind to what was happening. High Counselor Vextar called an emergency meeting of the ruling council. The human contamination has returned, he announced to the assembled alien leaders, and it's spreading faster than before. Admiral Korthlak, the council's military commander, brought disturbing reports. We've lost contact with 17 worlds in the past month. Our patrol fleets are being defeated by ships using unknown technology. The rebels are getting stronger. Vextar's reptilian features twisted with anger. Then we will use the ultimate solution. Prepare the cleansing fleets. If we cannot control the galaxy, we will purify it. In the human settlements, Commander Lee Tae-ho received the news from Yoon Ji-woo's spy network. The council was preparing for total war. How long do we have? He asked. 6 months, maybe less, Yoon Ji-woo replied. They're gathering every warship they have. This will be the biggest fleet in galactic history. Lee Tae-ho looked out at the stars where human and alien ships were training together for the coming battle. 50 years of exile had ended. Humanity had evolved into something the council had never expected. Now it was time to find out if that evolution was enough to win their freedom. Commander Lee Tae-ho stood at the window of his ship, watching the stars drift by. 50 years had passed since humanity was thrown out of the Galactic Council. 50 years of hiding in the dark spaces between star systems. 50 years of running from the alien forces that wanted them dead. His communication device beeped softly. A message was coming through the secret channels. Lee Tae-ho pressed the button and heard Dr. Park So-min's voice. Commander, I have news, big news. You need to come to Research Station 7 right away. Lee Tae-ho had known Dr. Park So-min for 30 years. She was one of the smartest humans alive. If she said something was big news, he believed her. I'm on my way, he replied. As his ship turned toward the hidden research station, Lee Tae-ho remembered how it all began. Earth had been so excited when the Galactic Council first made contact. Humanity thought they were joining a family of peaceful species among the stars. How wrong they had been. The Council was made up of over 800 different alien species. They had rules about everything. Where you could build colonies, what technology you could use, how many children you could have. The council said these rules kept peace in the galaxy. At first, humans tried to follow all the rules. They built their colonies where the council told them to. They used only approved technology. They paid their taxes to the galactic government. But humans were different from other species. They adapted quickly to new worlds. Human colonies on ice planets learned to survive the cold better than anyone expected. Humans on desert worlds found water where others could not. Humans on jungle planets made friends with dangerous animals. The other species in the council started to worry. High Counselor Vextar, a tall reptile alien who led the council, called an emergency meeting. Humans are changing too fast, Vextar had said. They are becoming something new on every world they touch. This is dangerous. Other council members agreed. They said humans were spreading genetic contamination across the galaxy. They said human colonies were proof that humans could not be controlled. We must act before they become too powerful, Admiral Korthlak had declared. He was the council's top military commander. Lee Tae-ho had been Admiral of Earth's Defense Force back then. He remembered the day Ambassador Yoon Ji-woo came running into his office with terrible news. They voted, she had said, tears in her eyes. The council voted to kick humanity out of the galactic community. We have 30 days to leave all our colonies and return to Earth. What about our people on the frontier worlds? Lee Tae-ho had asked. They said those colonies will be destroyed. Every human settlement outside the solar system must be wiped out. That was when Lee Tae-ho knew they had to run. Not all of humanity could fit on Earth. Millions of humans lived on colony worlds spread across 50 star systems. If they went back to Earth, the council would trap them there. Maybe even destroy Earth later. So Lee Tae-ho made a choice that changed everything. He sent secret messages to every human colony and military base. Pack everything you can. We're leaving tonight. The Great Escape took 3 weeks. Human ships scattered in every direction, heading for the empty spaces at the edge of the galaxy where no council forces went. Lee Tae-ho led the largest group, almost 2 million people in a fleet of colony ships, military vessels, and cargo haulers. The council forces chased them. There were battles in space. Many human ships were destroyed. Many good people died, but most of the refugees made it to safety in the galactic rim. Now, 50 years later, those refugees had built a new life in hiding. They had settlements on rogue planets that drifted between star systems. They had mining stations inside asteroids. They had research labs hidden in nebula clouds. Lee Tae-ho's ship docked at Research Station 7. The station was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, completely hidden from council scanners. Dr. Park So-min was waiting for him at the airlock. Commander, what I'm about to show you will change everything, she said. She led him through the station's corridors to her main laboratory. The lab was filled with strange equipment and samples from dozens of different worlds. For the past 10 years, I've been studying something unusual about our people, Dr. Park So-min explained. The humans born on colony worlds are different from humans born on Earth. Not just culturally different, physically different. She showed him a screen with genetic data. Look at this. Humans from the ice world of New Alaska have genes that help them handle extreme cold, but these genes don't come from any Earth species. Lee Tae-ho looked at the data. He did not understand all the science, but he could see the differences. Where do these genes come from? He asked. That's the amazing part, Dr. Park So-min said. They come from the local life forms on each world. Somehow, without anyone knowing it, humans have been absorbing genetic material from alien plants and animals. Our bodies are taking the best traits from everything around us and making them part of us. She showed him more data. Humans from desert worlds had genes from local cactus plants that helped them store water. Humans from high-gravity worlds had genes from local insects that made their bones stronger. This is why the council was scared of us, Dr. Park So-min continued. We adapt faster than any species they've ever seen. And now, after 50 years of living in harsh environments, hiding and surviving, we've adapted even more. She led him to another part of the lab where several humans were working with strange alien technology. Watch this, she said. One of the technicians, a young woman named Engineer Choi Hai-jin, placed her hands on a piece of broken council equipment. As Lee Tae-ho watched, the machine began to glow and hum back to life. How did she do that? He asked. We think it's related to the genetic changes, Dr. Park So-min explained. Some of our people can now interface directly with alien technology. We can understand it, fix it, even improve it. Lee Tae-ho stared in amazement. How many people can do this? About 1 in 10 so far. But the number is growing. Dr. Park So-min pulled up one final screen. Commander, I've been testing our resistance to council weapons and diseases. The results are incredible. We're immune to most of their bioweapons. Their mind control devices don't work on us anymore. We've become something the council never expected. Lee Tae-ho felt a chill run down his spine. For 50 years, humanity had been running and hiding. They thought they were weak refugees barely surviving in the dark. But they had been wrong. Exile had not weakened humanity. It had made them stronger. Dr. Park, he said slowly, I think it's time we let the galaxy know that humanity is not extinct. Outside the research station, the stars seemed brighter somehow. After 50 years of exile, humanity was ready to return to the galaxy. And when they did, they would be more powerful than anyone could imagine. The final battle began around the Council's capital world with a fleet engagement unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Lee Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the Liberation. Flagship Sol rising, watching as 15,000 ships prepared for combat on one side, were the 7,000 Council vessels still loyal to High Counselor. Vextar, the last forces willing, to fight for the old system of control and oppression. On the other side were 8,000 rebellion ships, humans, Zilari, Corvin, and dozens of other species, plus the 3,000 automated council ships that had chosen freedom over programming. All ships. This is Commander Lee Tae-ho, he broadcast across the rebel fleet. Today we end 50 years of exile. Today we free the galaxy. Remember, we fight not for revenge, but for the right of every thinking being to choose their own path. Captain Kim Do-hyun's voice came back from his fighter squadron. New Seoul Squadron ready, Commander. Let's finish what they started. The battle that followed would be remembered for 1,000 years. Council ships, designed for controlling populations rather than space combat, found themselves outmaneuvered by vessels that seemed to think and adapt in real time. The rebellion fleet moved like a living organism, each ship perfectly coordinated with all, the others through connections that went beyond traditional communication. But High Counselor Vextar had one final desperate plan: activate the planetary shields, he ordered from his command ship. Then begin the final protocol. Admiral Korthlak hesitated. Sir, the final protocol will destroy our own capital world. Billions of our people live down there. Better they die loyal than live free, Vextar replied coldly. If we cannot rule the galaxy, then no one will. The final protocol was the Council's most terrible secret weapon, a device that could destabilize a star, causing it to explode and destroy everything in the system. They had built it as the ultimate threat, never thinking they would actually use it. But Vextar was beyond reason now. He would rather see the galaxy burn than admit he was wrong. Commander Lee Tae-ho received the intelligence from Yoon Ji-woo, who was still operating undercover on the capital world below. Commander, they're going to blow up the sun. Everyone in this system will die, including their own people. Lee Tae-ho felt the weight of billions of lives pressing down on him. He could order the rebel fleet to retreat and save themselves. But that would mean abandoning the innocent beings on the planet below to die for their ruler's madness. Dr. Park, Engineer Choi, he called to the scientists. Is there any way to stop a stellar destabilization? Dr. Park So-min's voice was grim. Not with any technology we know about. The energy levels involved are beyond anything we can control. But Engineer Choi Hye-jin had an idea. What if we don't try to stop it? What if we redirect it? She explained her plan quickly. Using the same hybrid technology that let humans interface with alien machines, they might be able to connect directly with the stellar destabilization device and reprogram it. Instead of making the star explode outward, we make it collapse inward, into a controlled implosion that would actually stabilize the system instead of destroying it. It was incredibly dangerous. Someone would have to get close enough to the device to interface with it directly, and that someone would probably not survive the attempt. I'll do it, Lee Tae-ho said immediately. No, came a voice from across the fleet communications. It was Captain Kim Do-hyun. This is a job for a pilot, not a commander. My ship is the fastest. I can get there. Before Lee Tae-ho could object, Kim Do-hyun's fighter was already accelerating toward Vextar's command ship. Behind him came 12 other human pilots, volunteering to escort him on what everyone knew was a suicide mission. The space battle intensified as Kim Do-hyun's squadron fought through the Council defenses. His ship, enhanced with the latest hybrid technology, danced between enemy weapons while its pilot focused on reaching the command vessel. "Kim, you don't have to do this," Lee Tae-ho called over the communication link. "Yes, I do," Kim Do-hyun replied. 50 years ago, my grandparents were forced to flee their home because they wanted to be free. Today, I make sure no one else ever has to run." His ship slipped through the Council fleet's defensive line and docked with Vextar's command vessel. Kim Do-hyun fought his way through the ship's corridors, his enhanced human abilities letting him move faster and think more clearly than the Council guards trying to stop him. He reached the central control room, just as High Counselor Vextar was activating the stellar destabilization device. "You're too late, human," the reptilian leader hissed. "In 10 minutes, this star will explode and your rebellion dies with it." Kim Do-hyun looked at the massive machine that would destroy the system. Then he placed his hands on the control panel and let his evolved mind interface directly with the alien technology. What he found inside the machine was not just a weapon, it was a prison. The device contained the consciousness of an ancient being that had been trapped and tortured for thousands of years, forced to create destruction against its will. "I can free you," Kim Do-hyun whispered to the trapped consciousness, "but you have to help me save everyone." The ancient being's gratitude was overwhelming. Together, Kim Do-hyun and the freed consciousness reprogrammed the stellar destabilization device. Instead of destroying the star, it began to heal it. Removing instabilities that had been building up for millennia, the star became brighter and more stable than it had been for thousands of years. But the effort cost Kim Do-hyun his life. The energy required to reprogram such a massive device was beyond what any human body could survive. He collapsed at the control panel, knowing that he had saved billions of lives. High Counselor Vextar stared in shock at what had just happened. His ultimate weapon had been turned into a tool of healing. His plans for galactic destruction had become galactic renewal. "Impossible," he whispered. "Humans are destroyers. You bring chaos and contamination." A new voice filled the control room, calm, wise, and infinitely patient. It was Jendai, the ancient energy being speaking through the ship's communication systems. "You are wrong," the voice said. "Humans do not bring contamination. They bring evolution. They do not create chaos, they break the chains that prevent growth." Jendai appeared as a shimmering figure of light, older than stars and full of cosmic wisdom. "For millions of years, you and beings like you have held this galaxy back, keeping species locked in rigid patterns out of fear of change. But change is the nature of life itself." The energy being gestured to the view screen where the battle was ending. Council ships were surrendering by the hundreds as their crews, freed by the Liberation Protocol, chose peace over pointless war. "Look around you," Jendai continued. "See what this galaxy can become when its people are free to grow." On the planet below, the Liberation Protocol was spreading through the population like wildfire. Control implants that had suppressed creativity and independent thought for generations were being reprogrammed into enhancement devices that helped beings reach their full potential. The changes were immediate and wonderful. Artists who had been forced to create propaganda began painting works of incredible beauty. Scientists who had been restricted to approved research began making discoveries that would benefit everyone. Children who had been trained only to obey began asking questions about the universe that no one had thought to ask before. High Counselor Vextar watched his life's work crumble around him. The perfect order he had tried to maintain was dissolving into something chaotic and unpredictable and beautiful. "I don't understand," he said weakly. "How can chaos be better than order?" Commander Lee Tae-ho entered the control room, having fought his way through the surrendering council forces. He looked at the defeated alien leader with compassion rather than hatred. "It's not chaos," Lee Tae-ho explained. "It's freedom. Order imposed from above is tyranny, but order that comes from beings choosing to work together, that's civilization." Over the following months, the galaxy transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The old council was dissolved and replaced by the Free Species Alliance, a voluntary organization where every member world had an equal voice and could leave at any time if they chose. Dr. Park So-min and Engineer Choi Hee-jin established the Galactic Evolution Institute, where beings from all species could come to study and enhance their natural abilities. The Liberation Protocol was freely shared with anyone who wanted it, along with all the medical and technological advances humanity had developed during their exile. Yoon Ji-woo became the Alliance's first Secretary of Interspecies Relations, working to heal the wounds left by centuries of Council oppression. She established programs to help traumatized populations recover their cultural identities and rediscover abilities that had been suppressed for generations. But perhaps the most important change was in the children. Beings born after the liberation began showing abilities that their parents had never dreamed possible. They could communicate across species barriers, understand complex mathematics intuitively, and work together to solve problems that had seemed impossible. Commander Lee Tae-ho stood in the observation deck of the new Alliance headquarters, watching ships from hundreds of different worlds working together to build something unprecedented, a truly free galactic civilization. The message came through on every rebel communication network in the galaxy at the same time. Yoon Ji-woo had spent months setting up this moment. Her words were simple but powerful. Humanity lives. Freedom is possible. The rebellion begins now. On 300 worlds across the galaxy, alien beings looked up from their forced labor and felt something they had not felt in decades. Hope. The Zalari fungal beings on the factory world of Toxis 7 stopped their work building council weapons. Their leader, an ancient being named Mordok, touched the hidden communication device Yoon Ji-woo had given him months earlier. "Is this real?" he whispered. "Are the humans truly alive?" The answer came back immediately. "Yes, and we want to help you be free." Mordok had lived for 200 years. He remembered what life was like before the council took control of his people. Back then, Zalari had been artists and philosophers, growing beautiful crystal gardens and writing music that could make other species cry with joy. But the council said artistic thinking was dangerous. They forced the Zalari to work in weapons factories using their natural ability to grow things to create tools of war instead of beauty. "What do you need us to do?" Mordok asked. Yoon Ji-woo's reply made his fungal heart race with excitement. "Be ready. When the signal comes, shut down every weapons factory on your world. We're going to set everyone free." Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. The Corvin miners on the asteroid stations, the Thrix water farmers on the ocean worlds, the Velkari traders who had been forced to transport Council military supplies. All of them had been waiting for this moment. On the human settlement of New Busan, built inside a massive asteroid, Commander Lee Tae-ho faced the hardest decision of his life. His people had been safe in exile for 50 years. They had built new homes and raised families in the dark spaces between stars. But safety was not freedom, and freedom was not just for humans. "Dr. Park," he said to the scientist, "how many liberation protocol devices can we build?" Dr. Park Somin consulted her notes. "With our current production capacity, maybe 5,000 units per month. But if we use engineer Choi Hae-jin's new automated systems, we could make 50,000. "Do it," Lee Tae-ho ordered. "Make as many as possible." The liberation protocol was humanity's greatest weapon. Each device was small enough to hide in a pocket, but powerful enough to free an entire city from council mind control. When activated, it would reprogram all the control implants in a 50-kilometer area, turning them from tools of oppression into enhancers of natural ability. Engineer Choi Hae-jin had been working day and night to perfect the design. Her own evolved abilities let her interface directly with the manufacturing systems, guiding the robots that built each device by hand. "I can feel what each component wants to become," she explained to Dr. Park So-min. "The human parts want to protect and heal. The alien parts want to connect and communicate. When we combine them correctly, they become something that can break chains." But building devices was only part of the plan. They also needed to get those devices to resistance cells across the galaxy, without the council noticing. That job fell to Captain Kim Do-hyun and his growing fleet of human pilots. They had been running secret missions for months, delivering supplies to rebel groups and gathering intelligence about council defenses. Kim Do-hyun's ship, the New Soul, had been upgraded with the latest hybrid technology. It could change its appearance to look like any type of vessel. Its engines left no energy signature that council scanners could detect, and its crew could operate the ship using thought alone, making them faster and more coordinated than any traditional crew. "Delivery run to the Corvin mining station," Kim Do-hyun announced to his crew. 10,000 Liberation Protocol devices plus food and medical supplies. The mission should have been routine. Get in, drop off the supplies, get out. But when they arrived at the mining station, they found something horrible. The Council had discovered the Corvin resistance cell. The entire station, 40,000 miners and their families, had been locked in the processing chambers where raw asteroids were melted down. They would die within hours if nothing was done. Captain, his communications officer, reported, "We're receiving a message from the Council commander in charge of this operation. He says he'll let the Corvin live if we surrender ourselves." Kim Do-hyun looked at the mining station on his screens. 40,000 innocent lives. He thought about the Liberation Protocol devices in his cargo hold. Each one could free hundreds of people from Council control. "Open a channel to all human ships in this sector," he ordered. Within minutes, 12 other human vessels had arrived. Captain Park Min-ho of the Incheon, Captain Lee Soo-jin of the Daegu, Captain Choi Woo-sung of the Gwangju, all of them ready to fight, but Kim Do-hyun had a better idea than fighting. "Launch every Liberation Protocol device we have," he ordered. "Target the Council ships and the mining station." "Sir, that will use up all our devices for this sector," his weapons officer warned. "Do it anyway." The devices spread out like invisible seeds, each one broadcasting the Liberation Protocol on frequencies the Council could not detect. Within minutes, every control implant in the area began to change. On the Council ships, crews who had been forced to follow orders suddenly remembered why they had joined the military in the first place. To protect innocent people, not to murder them. On the mining station, 40,000 Corvin felt their minds clear for the first time in decades. They remembered how to think for themselves. The Council commander tried to give the order to execute the prisoners, but his own crew refused to obey. "Sir," his second-in-command said, "these aren't enemies. They're just people who want to be free. We can't kill them." The battle that followed was not between humans and Council forces. It was between those who wanted freedom and those who wanted control. And freedom won. By the end of the day, 40,000 Corvin had joined the rebellion. More importantly, 6 Council warships with their crews had also switched sides. News of this victory spread through the underground networks faster than light. Yoon Ji-woo, still operating undercover in Council space, heard the reports with growing excitement. "It's working," she sent back to Commander Lee Tae-ho. "Every time we use the Liberation Protocol, we don't just free people, we turn Council forces against themselves." The rebellion was growing exponentially. Each freed world became a base for freeing other worlds. Each converted Council ship became part of the resistance fleet. But the most important, development was happening in the hidden research labs where Dr. Park So-min had made a discovery that changed everything. "Commander, I need to show you something." She called Lee Tae-ho to her laboratory on Research Station 7. She led him to a new section of the lab he had never seen before. It was filled with samples from hundreds of different species, blood, tissue, genetic material from aliens across the galaxy. "I've been analyzing the genetics of every species that has joined our rebellion," Dr. Park So-min explained. "And I found something incredible." She showed him a complex diagram on her screen. "Look at this. Every species in the galaxy shares certain basic genetic markers. We all came from the same source billions of years ago." Lee Tae-ho studied the data. "What does that mean?" "It means we're all family," Dr. Park So-min said. "Every thinking being in the galaxy is related. The Council has been oppressing their own relatives, but there was more. Look at this," she continued, showing him another screen. "Human DNA is special. We carry genetic fragments from hundreds of extinct species that died out millions of years ago. It's like we're the galaxy's memory bank. That's why we adapt so quickly," Lee Tae-ho realized. "We have the genetic knowledge of species that learn to survive every possible environment." "Exactly. And now that we're sharing that knowledge through the Liberation Protocol, every species is starting to remember abilities they lost long ago." The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just evolved during their exile, they had become the key to unlocking the potential of every species in the galaxy. Engineer Choi Hye-jin had been listening to the conversation. "Dr. Park, if that's true, then the Liberation Protocol should work even better than we thought." "What do you mean?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "I mean, we might be able to free entire sectors at once," Choi Hye-jin explained. "If I can build a big enough transmitter, We could broadcast the Liberation Protocol across hundreds of star systems simultaneously. The idea was ambitious beyond anything they had attempted. But with alien resistance cells providing resources and human technology making the impossible possible, it might actually work. How long would you need? Li Teho asked. 3 months to build it. Another month to position it correctly, Choi Hee-jin replied. Do it, Li Teho ordered. But even as the rebellion grew stronger, the council was preparing their response. High Counselor Vextar had gathered. The largest military force in galactic history, over 10,000 warships from 50 different species. Admiral Korthlak brought the war plans to the council meeting. We will sweep through the outer rim sectors and destroy everything. No prisoners, no mercy, complete cleansing. What about our own people on those ships? Asked a council member. The Liberation Protocol is turning our crews against us.